These days, we don't think of the classic happy ending as a zero-sum game. That is, for someone to win, someone else has to lose. But in the old days, closer to the original source materials, almost always. Today's fable is My Favorite Unwanted Child. Once there was a widow with 3 children, twin boys and a girl, who lived near a cave. Now everyone knew the cave was the lair of a monster because no one who went in ever came out. The cave also surely contained a fabulous treasure, else why go into it knowing a monster lived there? Now the widow was not an evil person exactly, but she was practical to a fault, that particular fault being greed.
I have enough money, but I could use a treasure. Or, failing that, 1 or 2 fewer mouths to feed. Either way, I win.
So she took the eldest boy aside.
You were always my favorite, so I will tell you this. We will starve unless you go into that cave and find the treasure.
The boy wasn't too keen, but he dutifully went down into the cave and never came out. A month or 2 passed, and the widow went to her second oldest child.
You were always my favorite, so I will tell you this. We will starve unless you go into that cave and find the treasure.
The second boy went down into the cave, and he never came out. Now the widow was left with just one last child, the daughter. Besides being a sullen child, she was full of questions like, what happened to my brothers? The widow decided she'd be better off alone. Unless the stupid girl did find the treasure, and that would be all right too. She could then send the nuisance off to a boarding school and forget about her.
You were always my favorite, so I will tell you this. We will starve unless you go into that cave and find the treasure.
How do you know there is a treasure? And what happened to my brothers?
Do as I say, and don't ask such silly questions.
As the girl saw the matter, it was either obey her mother or run into the forest where she knew hungry bears and wolves were waiting. So she went down into the cave, down and down, until she reached a vast cavern. On a flattened stalagmite surrounded by bones, there stood a creature with long hair and teeth. It might have been human, once.
Tell me why you're here, or I'll eat you for dinner.
The girl glanced around at all the bones and came to the obvious conclusion.
Looks like I'll be dinner either way, but I'm here because my mother lied to me.
Mine too. Treasure? What bloody treasure? But it's not as if I could go home, and what else was there to eat down here? Ah, you didn't know those last 2, did you?
My brothers? Did you ask them that question?
Sorry to hear it, but yes, I did. And they said they were here for the treasure, so I ate them for being idiots.
It's a little sad, but true. Neither one was very bright, really.
The girl and the monster chatted for a bit, and the girl came to a decision.
Look, our current situation is neither your fault nor mine. It's damp and dark in here. I know where there's a nice warm cottage in the woods. Besides, I want you to meet my mother.
So the girl and the monster left the cave, and the monster met the girl's mother and devoured her on the spot because he really was hungry. After that, and because the mother hadn't been nearly as clever as she thought, it didn't take long for the girl to find where her mother had stashed her money. And there was plenty for anyone who wasn't greedy, even enough to keep her monster fed. And so, in their comfy cottage, the girl and her monster lived happily ever after.